After an alien ship crashes into Earth, leading it to becoming uninhabitable, the human race begins sending colonists to a planet in the Alpha Centauri system. Humans use the engine from the alien ship to build the Resolute, a massive spaceship capable of reaching Alpha Centauri. The colonists aboard the Resolute are attacked by an alien robot trying to retrieve the alien engine, forcing the colonists aboard to evacuate the Resolute in smaller Jupiter aircrafts. The Jupiters are sucked into a wormhole and crash land on an alien planet. Aboard one of those Jupiters is the Robinson family. There's the parents, John and Maureen, who are on the verge of divorce. Judy, the oldest daughter, whose biological father was an astronaut who died before her birth. There's youngest daughter Penny, and Will, the youngest of the Robinsons. Will Robinson discovers an injured robot in its crashed ship, and after helping the robot, they become friends. Eventually, the Robinsons and their new robot friend reconnect with the other surviving colonists and begin to devise a plan to return to the Resolute. But they'd need to move quickly as their current planet would become uninhabitable in a matter of days. Other colonists trapped on the planet are Don West, a mechanic and smuggler who starts off a bit of a rogue, but eventually grows to be a heroic and trustworthy ally of the Robinsons. Oh, and he's also got a chicken named Debbie. There's also the Dhar family. The father, Victor, takes command of the stranded colonists, and his pragmatic ways are constantly at odds with the more hopeful and heartfelt Robinson family. His son Vijay develops a relationship with Penny Robinson. And then there's the mischievous Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith is actually a petty criminal named June Harris who assumed the identity of her sister Jessica to take her place on the Resolute. When Jessica Harris's boyfriend discovers June impersonating her, Smith launches him out of the Resolute's airlock. June is eventually caught and arrested for this, but during the aliens' attack she escapes and steals the identity of the real Dr. Smith. On the planet, Dr. Smith is constantly sabotaging the colonists' plan for rescue as she fears her punishment upon returning to the Resolute. Eventually, Smith is discovered to be a fraud. Throughout Season 1, the Robinson family begins to mend from its various fractures and John and Maureen reconcile. They also grow to trust the robot and convince the other colonists to do the same. Although this all falls apart when Dr. Smith convinces a colonist named Angela that the robot should be killed for its attack on the Resolute. When Angela attacks the robot, John intervenes and the robot attacks him instead. Will, distraught over the robot's actions, commands it to walk off a cliff to kill itself. But that was all a part of Smith's plans, who helps to repair the robot, making it now listen to her commands. With time running out for the colonists on the planet and not enough fuel for everyone to escape, Maureen devises a plan for John and Don to pilot a Jupiter to find the Resolute and bring it back to the planet to rescue the others. Although there wasn't enough fuel for a Jupiter to reach the Resolute, so the Jupiter needed to lose its navigation systems to lighten its weight. John and Don would have to pilot in space while Maureen navigated them from the planet's surface. Dr. Smith knocks out Maureen, causing the Jupiter to crash and explode in space. While all hope now seemed lost, Will discovers that rocks from a nearby cave are actually petrified biomass that could be used as fuel for all of the Jupiters. And so the colonists work together to collect the biomass and fuel up their Jupiters. Victor and the other colonists flee the planet to return to the Resolute, but Smith and the robot, with the alien engine from the crashed ship, commandeer the Robinsons' Jupiter. Smith fears the repercussions of returning to the Resolute and facing the consequences of her various crimes, but does allow the Robinsons to rescue John and Don from space. The Jupiter is then attacked by a second alien robot, which is dubbed SAR, or SAR, who fights to reclaim the alien engine. Will's robot, sensing he's in danger, snaps out of Smith's command and fights SAR, knocking them both off of the Jupiter and into space. And just as the Jupiter is about to safely dock with the Resolute, the alien engine activates and transports them into a completely different solar system. In Season 2 of Lost in Space, the Robinson family, along with Don West and Dr. Smith, have spent 7 months aboard the Jupiter, stranded on an oceanic planet. After discovering a metallic trench seemingly created by the alien robots, the Robinsons use the trench and a lightning storm to create a power surge in the Jupiter that launches it back into space. The crew aboard the Jupiter make their way back to the Resolute, but upon boarding it discover that it had been evacuated 7 months prior. The Robinsons discover that SAR had attacked the Resolute to steal back the engine while the robot had helped the people evacuate. Smith takes this opportunity to access the Resolute's files and delete all of the incriminating evidence against her. Eventually, a new Jupiter arrives on the Resolute carrying Ben Adler, the ship's head of technology. He explained that a robot codenamed Scarecrow, recovered from the spaceship that crashed on Earth, had secretly been the Resolute's pilot, as the alien engine required a robot for it to work. And now that Scarecrow was critically injured and their engine was stolen, they had no way to pilot the Resolute. The colonists were all stranded on a nearby planet, awaiting for a fix for the Resolute. Luckily, the Robinsons had their own alien engine that the Resolute could use. Now they just needed a working robot pilot. When Will touches the ship's engine, he sees a vision of Robot's location on the planet below. Will, Maureen, and Adler head down to the planet's surface to find Robot, but on the Resolute, danger is lurking. The ship's leadership is back on board, and the ship's intelligence officer, Hastings, reveals that the Resolute's water supply was not enough to support all of the colonists. Attempts to bring water from the planet failed, as its water contained a parasite that destroyed metal. And so Hastings planned on leaving all of the colonists still on the planet's surface behind as soon as a new robot pilot arrived. Will's group are tricked and attacked by SAR, but Adler uses a lethal experimental weapon to kill the alien. Will then reunites with the real robot, and Adler is surprised by the robot's display of genuine empathy. When they bring the robot back to the Resolute, John informs Maureen of Hastings' plan to ditch the other stranded colonists. Maureen discovers that a nearby gas planet's ammonium could be used to decontaminate the parasitic water supply, allowing the stranded colonists to be rescued. And so the Robinson family stages a mutiny. Maureen and John rush to collect the ammonium, but Hastings has his own tricks up his sleeve. Years prior, after Will Robinson had failed the test necessary to be accepted into the colonist program, Maureen had made a deal with Hastings to alter Will's results in exchange for the Resolute's access codes. And so Hastings was able to take control of the ship and sabotage Maureen and John's plans, even attempting to have them killed. And so the mutiny fails. But Maureen and John survive, and the event causes the Resolute's captain Kamal to trust Maureen's calculations about the ammonium and allows them to proceed with the Resolute's backing, and Hastings is eventually arrested. Robot wants to take the injured Scarecrow back down to the planet's surface to repair it. When the Resolute guards arrive to thwart the escape, Robot stays behind to hold them off as Will and a remorseful Adler get Scarecrow onto a Jupiter and fly away. On the planet's surface, Adler sacrifices himself to help repair the broken Scarecrow, which then flies back to the Resolute with Will. But that's not the only ship flying to the Resolute. Just as all of the stranded colonists are back aboard the ship, the Resolute is attacked by an army of alien robots. Maureen is able to temporarily trap the army, but soon they would break free, and the colonists would stand no chance in the fight. Judy declares that the best option was for the Resolute's 97 children to board a Jupiter with the alien engine and have Robot pilot them through the space rift to Alpha Centauri. The adults would have to escape in separate Jupiters and hope to find another way to reunite with their kids. And so the Resolute children board a Jupiter captained by Judy and plan for launch just as the robot army escapes. Scarecrow and Dr. Smith sacrifice themselves to hold back the army long enough for the children to reach safety. The adults on board escape in their own Jupiters, but not before Maureen and John set the Resolute on a collision course with some debris, causing the Resolute to explode and destroy the robot army. As Maureen, John, Dawn, and the other adults pilot their fleet of Jupiters aimlessly through space, the children's Jupiter arrives at its chartered destination, but they had not been taken to Alpha Centauri. Instead, the signal they were following belonged to the Fortuna, a ship that had vanished 20 years earlier that was commanded by Grant Kelly, Judy Robinson's biological father.
And that's everything that's happened so far in Lost in Space. Let me know some of your favorite moments so far and what you hope to see in the final season in the comments below. Like this video if you found it helpful, subscribe to this channel for more content like it, and that does it for me in this video, but I'll see you in the next one.